Elementary music teacher friend, you love what you do, but you might feel unappreciated and, in fact, unseen some days. You may even feel like you're on a music teacher island and just want to connect with other music teachers who can relate to both your struggles and wins when it comes to teaching elementary music. I get you and understand completely the feelings you're having. That's why each and every week, the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast will provide you with solo and guest episodes that will help you realize you're not alone in your music teaching journey. Throughout each episode, my goal is for you to be able to walk away with actionable steps and ideas to help you feel like you're ready to take on the new week with whatever challenges may be thrown your way. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Peresta, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're at home, in your car, in the shower, or wherever else you're listening, grab your cup of coffee or whatever other beverage is nearby and listen in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Hey, music teacher friend, I am so excited to talk to you today about the third annual Reflect and Renew Challenge just for music teachers. Maybe you've been feeling the overwhelm for real this year. Let's be honest, that is putting it lightly. It has been tough. Then I would love for you to join me at this free challenge where you are going to get to set goals to help spur you forward into the rest of the school year. It's all happening at the end of December, and I'll tell you in a minute how you can join us. But day one is the mid-year reflection. You're going to think back over the last few months of the school year and identify the highs and the lows. You're also going to think about what's worked for your particular teaching situation and what maybe you need to revamp a little bit moving forward. Day two, we're going to look ahead. Looking ahead towards the rest of the school year and focusing on what needs to get done to make it successful. During the school year, things have been turned upside down. Of course, we know that. So we're going to look ahead in order to help you renew your focus and face your new way of teaching in order to give you that spur of confidence and to help you beat that overwhelm moving forward. And day three is all about goal setting. You're going to set some goals and write out action steps to help you meet them. The main goal, of course, is to teach music to your students while helping them be their most creative selves. But you're going to create goals to help you beat the burnout and to help apply these goals to your particular teaching situation because as we know, every single music teacher is in a different teaching situation and at different schools. So during this challenge, you're going to get to watch short yet actionable videos, receive encouragement to spur you forward, and we'll get action steps to apply to your actual teaching situation. It's all going down December 28th through 30th, and it's going to be awesome. To sign up, simply go to subscribepage.com/reflect and renew, or simply click on the link in the show notes. All right, let's continue on with today's episode. Well, hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Today's episode is 5 steps for finding renewal. Now that you're entering winter break, I know you're excited to lay around in your PJs, sip your coffee slowly, and take the time to unwind and relax, which you so well deserve. Please do all of those things. Do them a lot. It's so important. And of course, it ties in perfectly with finding the renewal you need before you head back to school after winter break, which is what this episode is all about. As you're enjoying your break, I want to give you 5 steps that will help you to find renewal, like I mentioned earlier, in ways that are more than just relaxing. Some practical steps. Let's get started. Number 1 is let go of unrealistic expectations put on you by others or yourself. I know I am my harshest critic. I am very hard on myself, but I also have outside voices who may or may not be saying anything, but I might just be my thoughts that I'm thinking they're saying things. But let go of these unrealistic expectations because sometimes just good enough is good enough. Maybe you're like me and you're type A personality and you're a perfectionist. And if things aren't perfect, if things aren't going the way you want them to go, and you are trying to put things on a pedestal or you're not reaching these expectations you have set for yourself, it's okay. let some of that go and know that everything's not always going to be perfect. And sometimes good enough is good enough. It really is. And just be okay with that. You don't need to be an overachiever. You don't need to prove anything to anyone by trying to work extra hours or do extra tasks at school or at home to try to prove to people that you are good enough. You don't need to do that. And I know exactly how you're feeling. I can relate to you. And I know the struggles that you're facing with that because it feels like sometimes, especially as the music teacher, if you feel unnoticed or unseen, you try to take on more and more responsibilities to prove your worth. And you do not need to prove that to anyone. So don't let yourself set these unrealistic expectations on you because you are going to start drowning. And that's where the overwhelm and burnout sets in big time. Set limits on your time. Create realistic boundaries. So I already mentioned the staying extra hours to work and taking on extra tasks. Set limits on your time. Say, this is the, I will maybe stay late one day a week, and these are the days, or this is the day I'm going to do that. And then also, if people are constantly bothering you, if you get a plan time, if they're bothering you during your plan time, set limits on your time and say, actually, I've planned to do this today. We can maybe meet later in the week or whatever it might look like, and create realistic boundaries. What boundaries have you set that you really like? And which boundaries do you need to set moving forward that are realistic, that are maybe you're just having a hard time saying no. And maybe that is where your overwhelm is coming from because you're not setting some boundaries. And so this goes back to the expectations you're letting others put on your time. Maybe you think that they're not thinking you're working hard enough if you're not there for every, beck and call or every need that this maybe a teacher has. But that's not true. When you create boundaries on yourself, for yourself, I should say, and you say, this is what I am going to do. These are the hours I'll help you with this. And this is the day I can meet with you. This is the time I'm going to respond to emails or whatever it looks like. People will start respecting those boundaries. Just set them and you'll be amazed to see what happens once they are set. And the last thing I want to say about point number 1 is practice saying the word no, which I mentioned a minute ago, as you continue into the rest of the school year. I've said on this podcast before, and I'll say it again, no is a complete sentence. No doesn't need to be followed by no, but this, no, because this. Just say no. And you don't need to explain your answer or reasoning to anyone. No is the perfect way to set realistic expectations on your time in your life. Number 2, process through the successes and struggles you've had so far this school year. So, this will help you with finding renewal because when you write down your successes, you'll realize how much you've truly accomplished. Let's be honest, as you're in there teaching every single day, you're not having a lot of time to sit there and go, man, that was a great lesson. That was a success. And maybe you are. And if you are, great. I want you to do that. But I know your time is limited. So when you have time over break, I love to do this. I love to sit and process and think about things and write it down and get it out of my brain. So I want you to really start thinking through the successes you've had this school year, even as you're teaching during a pandemic. What successes have you faced? This is going to look unique to you because you are you, right? You're a unique person and a unique teacher. And so, but write it down. It can be simple wins. It can be about a student or a particular class that you feel like you're having some major success with. It can be a relationship with a colleague that maybe you've been trying to build and you really feel like you're finally gaining some traction there. So write down your successes because it just looking at a list you make and looking at the successes you've written down is really going to help you realize how many you've actually had. Maybe you're just, your wheels are spinning in your head and you're just struggling with, oh my goodness, it's just overwhelming. And you're like, am I even accomplishing anything this school year? Well, write down those successes, make a list and really look at it. And you're going to see how far you've come and how much you've accomplished this school year. When you process through your struggles, you're going to learn from them and continue moving forward. So, along with processing through your successes and writing them down, I want you to also think through things that maybe have been a little bit of a struggle, because I don't think struggles are failures. I don't view it that way at all. There's going to be hard moments and hard times and things that are not going to come as easy. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's not going to come as easy to you as other things as an elementary music teacher. And that's normal. We are all different. We came into music teaching with different musicianship, different skills, different talents, different personalities, different, all the things. And so you're going to struggle through some things. There's going to be things that are not as easy as you see another teacher that's just super easy for them. But I want you to process through your struggles. Think, okay, so this particular thing, I don't know, maybe I'm just going to name an example. Maybe it's about like decorating your classroom. I'm just picking something random. Maybe that's a struggle to you. I know for me it is, because I am not a big like decorating type of person. I'm not artsy. It's just not a passion of mine, if I can be honest. And it's also something that I just am not good at. So I remember seeing the fanciest bulletin boards and all these, themes and decorations and colorful classrooms, and I'm like, mine's just like a poster I wrote a quote on and hung it up, which wasn't inadequate by any means, but I was stuck comparing myself to these teachers who had these like really like fancy decorated classrooms, and I just was not that was not me at all. And so maybe that's an example you can relate to, but maybe you're thinking already of some things that you're, back to the comparison thing, where you feel like you're struggling in some areas, but are those really struggles? Or is it just something that they have a passion for that you don't, right? So I want you to write down, maybe I struggle with insert the blank. Just write that down. Write down a few things, then process through them. Why do I view this as a struggle? Is this really something I struggle with, or is it just something that it's not important to me? So I want you to process through that, because maybe you haven't even identified those things where you feel like you are struggling in an area, but you haven't identified why. So when you process through it, it's going to really help you in knowing, is this really something I need to improve upon? Or is it something that I'm just not good at and it's okay, right? So process through your struggles. I also want to say that when you process through your struggles, think about what has caused you overwhelm, stress, doubt, frustration, insert any other word there, and journal or jot down ways you'll move forward from these things. Okay, so I'm going to name a few things that might be contributing to those feelings I just named. Is it because of coworkers, maybe making you feel a certain way? Is it you trying to juggle too many balls, too many tasks, too many responsibilities, which I mentioned in number 1 of this episode? Is it because you feel like you're not doing a good enough job? And why do you feel that way? I want you to think through these questions on your own and then keep moving forward, and don't give up. Don't give up, because what happens is when you start thinking about these struggles, you start letting the way others perceive what you're doing as a music teacher, or you're feeding into maybe a comment you saw on social media, or you got a email from somebody, or a remark, or whatever. I know those negative comments out of the 100 good ones, that is what can keep you stuck and make you replay it over and over in your head. And that might be what you're doing. So I do not want you to do that. That's why I say write it down, which sounds so simple, but it's usually the simplest things that move us the furthest, right? So I want you to write it down, because what happens is then you're able to look at it, review it, kind of like when you write it down, you're getting it out of your head, and then you're not going to think about it anymore. I want you to just move forward. Don't think about that comment, that statement, that look, that remark, whatever. Or even maybe it's a thought that you've had and not someone else has said to you, right? Which we talked about already. So that's what I want you to do when you feel like you're not doing a good enough job. I want you to really think through the successes and struggles you've had already and process them and keep moving forward. Number 3 for steps for finding a renewal is, what would you like to improve upon going forward? This goes back to thinking about your struggles. A struggle, like I said earlier, is not something that is a bad thing. It's just something that maybe, like I said already, that maybe that's just not your cup of tea, and it's okay. You don't need to do the things that you're not passionate about. But maybe the struggle is just something you're working through. Like, okay, I really want better pacing in my class time. So, how can I improve upon this? Or my students come in noisy. How can I improve upon this? Or I want to implement more instruments, but I'm not sure how. How can I improve upon this? Maybe those are struggles that are things that definitely you can improve upon. It does not mean you're a bad teacher by any means. It just means think through those. Think through the things you've been struggling with, and then think about how you can move forward. I want you to also know that there's always something to improve from and growth opportunities. If there was no growth opportunities, then you would stay stagnant. I want you to continue growing. I don't want you to ever just stay content with where you're at as a teacher, or to say, well, I'm doing a good enough job. And you probably are, but there's always room for growth. So always be looking for those opportunities to improve from your craft, and think about how you're teaching and what you want to improve upon, and look for growth opportunities. Maybe this is something when you're thinking about struggling, maybe it's something to do with your teacher life. Maybe you're struggling with work home life balance. Maybe when it comes to planning, maybe it's classroom management, or maybe whatever else it is. I want you to really think through those things. Now, we talk about this in detail in my Harmony membership all the time. So I would love for you to become a member and join us in there, because we will support you through these struggles, through these processing through mindset things, and you will get a step-by-step approach in how to do that. Number four, 5 steps in finding renewal is how or what will improve your teaching practice or life. How or what's going to improve it? Let me give you some examples. Now that you've thought through your struggles and successes, the next step for finding renewal is to think about how or what will help you out. Is this taking more breaks? Is this asking for more help or delegating responsibilities in whatever area of life that needs to happen? Is it creating better processes and systems so you can get work done in a more efficient way? Is it maybe improving how you lesson plan and making it a simpler process? Maybe you spend so much time lesson planning because you're trying to make it perfect. It's okay to simplify things. Is it maybe leaving school right at the end of the day and not taking work home? Maybe it's one of those things I mentioned, but maybe it's something else that you need to really think about what is going to help you improve your teaching practice or life. So think through what this might look like for you, and then actually implement that thing or those things to help you continue moving forward in order to find renewal. Number 5, in what ways can you improve practicing real self care? Now, I say real self care because I've said before, I don't view self care as just getting a pedicure. And I know I use that example a lot, but it's the first one that comes to my mind. Maybe I really need to get one, but it's winter. Anyways, self care to me is about the daily, mundane, boring tasks that you do in order to help you live your life, right? It is about keeping your tasks organized. It is about keeping up with laundry. It is about time management. Those things are more self care to me than the act of just going and getting a massage. So, when you're thinking about ways you can improve on practicing self care, this is a big one, and something I'm actually terrible about doing sometimes myself, where I have a hard time slowing down or stopping, and my brain is always like a spinning hamster. What is it? A wheel? I almost said a treadmill, whatever, the hamster wheel that, yeah, I guess it's just a wheel that goes round and round and round. I feel like that sometimes. I feel like sometimes my brain has 27 tabs open at once. It's really hard for me to slow down and to force myself to take a break. And so maybe you can relate to that too, but this is something I'm really terrible about doing. So when it comes to thinking about ways you can improve on practicing self-care, for me personally, it just has to be a choice. It has to be me physically saying, I'm putting my phone down for the rest of the night and I'm not checking it, or I'm going to read tonight instead of watching TV, or I have work I need to do tonight, but instead of doing my work, I'm going to allow myself to take a break and to literally just sit or have a conversation with my husband or go to bed early. It's about intentionally each day, because every day for me looks different and it's going to be the same for you. So it's intentionally saying, what do I need tonight? Can I keep pushing myself and going forward? Or is this a night I can tell I'm really just had a long day and I need to be done with the day? So think about what you need. Really turning off technology, putting my phone down, not checking my emails or text, leaving any work that's not done and pushing it to the next day, and also letting my family know if I need a break. It's so important. Maybe you live by yourself, you live with a roommate, maybe you're married, maybe you're not, whatever it looks like for you. I think maybe it's not just your family, maybe it's a roommate, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's whoever else, maybe it's no one. Maybe you're just telling yourself these things that you need to take a break. I think just communicating your needs to others and communicating it to yourself. Maybe you're talking to yourself, maybe you're not, you're just thinking it. No judgment. But really focusing on what you need and being clear with communication and communicating that to others, I think is really big. It's a really big thing. This goes back to all the way to number one is about setting boundaries and on your life and setting expectations for what you need. It's not selfish this is self-care. It's not selfish to say you need to take a break. It's not selfish to say you're not going to respond to that text. It's not selfish to not keep working and leave work at school. It's not selfish to do those things. Okay. Now, do I understand there's exceptions to the rule? Of course. There's going to be times where you have to finish something and there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But what I like to do is if I have a late night or if I have a time I need to work past my normal work hours, then I will intentionally on my calendar mark off the next night if I can, or whatever it might look like. So I want you to do the same thing. I understand every day will not look the same. So I want you on your calendar to say, this will be a late night, or this will be a night that I will need to respond to emails, or whatever it might be. Think about your own situation. And then I want you to look at your calendar and the next night or 2 nights after that, don't do anything. To really, really pencil in breaks when you can. Like try to make it a every other night thing if you can, or 2 nights on, 2 nights off. So do you see what I'm saying? Like when you're setting those expectations and clear boundaries and you're really being intentional with your calendar, it's going to help you find renewal where you're able to take some breaths throughout the week and really not be bombarded with all the things and really listen to what you need over anyone else. And I also want to point out some episodes that I have talked about self-care either with a guest or a solo episode. So I want you, after you listen to this episode, or anytime over winter break or any time for that matter, episode 121, episode 132, and episode 150 are self-care episodes in different topics, but they all talk about different things related to self-care. And one of them is about self-care. One of them was an interview with Beth Duhan. And another one was what if statements for teachers. Like, what if this, then reframe it with this. So I want you to really listen to those episodes. It'll help you so much with reframing the way you think about self-care. So I'd love for you to join me at the Reflect and Renew Challenge because we'll talk about everything I mentioned in this episode, but in a lot more detail. It's going to be an amazing experience. I'm so excited to see you there. I will show up live each day. It's just a 3-day challenge, but in your email inbox, you're going to get so much support, so much. There's actually a bingo board that's going to be available for you to use throughout the challenge and other ways for you to continue moving forward and get to know other music teachers in the challenge as well. So I would love for you to join us. Have an amazing winter break. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa, my friends. And I will see you soon. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening into the Elementary Music Teacher podcast. There is an exclusive Facebook group just for listeners of this podcast and any elementary music teacher called the Elementary Music Teacher Community Facebook group. Come on over and join us there where we have conversations around the podcast episodes and encourage each other each and every week. And also head to my website, thedomesticmusician.com. I have some free resources there that you can download to help you gain traction in your classroom today today, as well as the blog and the membership site and all kinds of other goodies to help you keep going in your music teaching journey. I cannot wait to keep connecting with you and encouraging you and spurring you on in your journey of teaching elementary music. Hang in there, have an amazing week, and I will see you soon.